I don't know where the
Yeah,
clap
wait
is
for
though.
this to turn dark blue. Wait for that to catch.
There it is.
All right, now go back.
To this?
Yep,
Okay.
Main joint.
yep, and then on t-shirt. Y'all show the start
There it
I
is.
don't see the
All
clap.
right.
All right, all right.
in the corner.
Hey,
What's happening, everybody?
Hey, hey.
Welcome to Let's Talk About It.
Indeed.
I'm
what's
Wonder.
up? I'm Miss E.
And it's a six-man
Yeah,
Dean
it's
Geronimo
fine.
back
Yeah.
again.
Support.
Want to talk
Go
about
back.
it? Give us a call, 646-233-1302.
All right. All right.
Let me get us.
Oh, you want to get your clap?
We
You
gonna
wanna
get it.
Clap in?
Just make it clap.
Okay,
There you go.
let me turn it up. How do I turn it up? Okay, let me
yeah.
turn it up. Let's try again.
Uh-huh. There we go. We got it. We got it.
All right.
Let's rock.
Welcome everyone.
So what's happening? So we're back. Happy New Year to
Happy
everybody.
New Year.
First
Yeah.
show of the new year.
Certainly hope everybody brought their New Year in
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
way that they wanted to, whether it was festive or calm. And it's just good to be on the other side. We're in
Indeed.
2020. This is the third decade, technically, starting on the third decade of 2020.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, it
yeah.
is. Yeah.
So Happy New Year. So
Oh, y'all
let's
ready.
start with you,
Happy
Miss
New
Miss
Decade,
Miss E.
right?
How you doing?
I'm good.
What's
I'm
going on with
good.
you?
Not same regular, same.
For the New Year. Kept it
I
quiet.
think I kept it quiet. I always keep it low key on New Year's. I think I might have said this before, but
Mm.
I I haven't been out on New Year's Eve in like 20 years.
Wow.
Okay.
Really, because I like to I really like to keep it low key, and the thing that I really enjoy about New Year's is like the next day, like the next morning. Like
Mhm.
I like to go out early on New Year's Day, and it's just so quiet, like literally, it'd be like 9 o'clock in the morning, and it's
Oh,
like
you go
better
out
than like you've ever
early.
seen. Yeah, like and nine's not even really that early, like on a regular weekday. Even on a Saturday, nine's not that or early.
Not on
But
regular
on New
weekdays.
Year's,
Yeah.
but on New Year's Day, it is like dead. It is
Wow.
dead at 9 o'clock in the
Wow.
morning, and it's nice though because it's just quiet. You know what I mean? And I enjoy like just I don't know, I guess like the solace and the stillness of like not a lot of seeing like everybody all crazy and stuff on New Year's Eve and all crazy on Christmas, and it just for all that to culminate into the day after, you know what I
Right.
mean? And
Right.
that's what it kind of like feels like. But I enjoy it, and that's what I like to wake up with a clear head, on New Year's Day.
Okay.
I like to greet the new year in my best mindset.
All right. Well,
All right.
listen. I'm glad you brought it in.
And all that, right?
No, listen. I'm glad you
He
brought it
said
in.
you asked,
The
and
way
she
you
shall
wanted
tell
to.
you.
Well, since you asked.
No, that's good
Let me
because
get a
you know
clap.
what? I think that's yeah. Big up
I
yourself.
know I can't like
Big
clap.
up
I
yourself.
don't know what's up
There
with
it
the
is.
clap.
There it
Okay, we
is.
go.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I was gonna say, not only that. I mean, listen, we're folks of a certain age now. Not to say that you can't go out and have fun, but I mean, many of us have been there, done that.
Oh yeah,
You know,
please,
I
yeah.
can't count the number of times I've been to go see the ball drop
Or down at the
did all of
Elks.
that,
Oh
and
my
then-
God,
and
down
then
at-
in the city spending all that money. So it's
Yeah,
like you remember when the
yeah.
trains used to run for free
for
to the
free.
city?
Yeah, do they do that
Oh
anymore?
man, I don't
don't
know.
know. I don't know if they do that
somebody,
anymore.
Somebody call in and let us know.
Yeah, we used to go to
Or
see.
hit
but
us on the
then-
text.
And then we used to go
Let us
down
know.
to and this is when I was younger too, but it used to be fun because and I'm like I'm saying like in my 20s.
Mhm.
Low key, the Elks on New Year's Eve used to be the bomb.
Really?
Yeah, it used
Okay.
to be bomb because we were like younger, so it was like a more mature crowd, like probably like
Yeah,
us,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it was just a real cool hangout, because
Okay.
everybody was like a little bit older, and you
I
didn't
got
have, when we was younger,
Right.
wherever you went, it was like fights and But yeah, it used to be fun.
Okay. So, Dean Geronimo, what's up, brother?
You know what?
What you
Hanging
do?
on like an old loose tooth, man. That's what
Guys,
I
say
do.
that again, man. That's your
Hanging
moniker.
on like an old loose tooth. That's what I do, man. You know what I mean?
That's what's up.
Oh, Sam C said the trains don't run for free.
Oh, they don't? Oh,
Nah,
that's too,
so-
I guess because they got Uber and stuff now. But
Probably.
Uber's relatively new, but still, yeah.
I don't
Oh,
know.
they
I'm
don't
gonna
run
have to
for
bring
free?
the
Oh, wow.
I'm
Okay.
gonna have to start taking people there. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, what did you do, man? What you do for New Year?
Stayed my ass at home.
That's
And
it?
kept it low.
Okay.
That's what we do now. Like you said, man. You know, like I can't dodge the bullets no more, man.
That's
Yeah.
Can't
yeah.
move from the fight and bob and weave like you used to. It's
Yeah,
reaction
yeah.
time's a little slower.
Right,
So,
right.
you know, and that same punch you took at 18, 19 and go to work the next day,
true. Yeah.
nah, man, in 40s and 50s, it takes a lot longer to recover. So, you know, just sat at home, man, brought in the new year, me and the missus, you know, shout out to
Okay.
Dr. Diamond.
Did you have the grandbaby with you? Or?
No, she wasn't with us, but then she came over a couple of days later, you know, so
Okay.
got to hang out with us and have some fun. So,
That's
we
good.
had a good time, man.
That's
Good,
good.
good.
So you in pop mode.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
even
Being a
mad at
grandparent
you,
is
man.
fun, y'all.
Yeah,
I'm telling
no,
you.
I'm not mad. That's like this. That's the stage you at in life, and that's cool. You know, I
Yeah.
think like that's what life is about. Like being, you know, experiencing those things. Like you
Mm-hmm.
said, like when we were younger, and you know the stuff we used to do, and the way you could like either recuperate or you know find a
Yeah.
way to recuperate. And now you like, no, this is
now
this is
I'm-
where it's at.
I'm
This
going-
is what's cool now.
I'm
you
going to
know?
Netflix it for real. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? And I'm going to relax a little bit.
You looking forward to grandkids one day? You don't have any, but
Uh,
asking.
It's fun, man. I'm telling you.
I guess so.
Being a grandparent
You
is
guess
fun,
so?
man.
I guess so.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll see. We'll,
We'll
see,
see.
what we'll see what the young man gives me.
Okay.
It's complicated.
I mean, you looking like you ready for Grandpa Mom with that beard.
I know, right? Hey, you know what?
This is the grandpa
I
joint
know.
right here.
You know what's crazy?
I know.
You heard it first, so
So-
let's talk about it.
So when I started letting this grow out, right?
Mhm.
You know, my first time going back to the barbershop, because I was like, man, that means I got to start going to the barbershop. 'Cause
Oh,
I, don't-
uh-huh.
I just don't have time to edge it up myself. So I
Oh,
went,
okay. Mhm.
and the barber says, you want me to put a little dye in there for you? I'm like, nah.
Yeah, you said
Nah,
that last
bro.
time. I watched the
Yeah,
show last week. You
I
said
earned
it, yeah.
this. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Nah, man. Like, come on. You know, and I guess I brought it up because I ran into, shout out to Garfield. Peace to Garfield. I ran into my man Garfield. And he was like, I see you got a little, you know, we started. And he talked about, he said somebody asked him, how come he didn't put some dye? And I was like, yeah, man. Come on. I mean,
Oh, man.
You know.
It doesn't grow right here anymore.
yeah.
I live long enough
Oh,
to
it
get
doesn't
this
even
right here.
grow?
Nah, it
Oh.
grows around here.
Oh,
30
okay,
years
alright.
of bald in my head, nothing grows on the roof.
Okay.
So
okay,
now I got
okay.
the George
So that's
Jefferson,
what-
so I gotta
okay.
let that go. I can Teddy Pendergrass. that
Oh,
thing, like,
okay.
just let it
Uh-huh.
go. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
not-
so listen. So we have a couple of things that we need to discuss, talk about.
Yeah.
Missy, are you ready?
Yeah, you know what I
Okay.
wanted to talk about? Like it's kind of light and it's kind of light, but I thought it was interesting. So, you know, the royal family. Oh, mostly too because I've been watching The Crown on Netflix, and I don't know if anybody else out there watched The Crown, but you guys probably don't watch it. I'm only saying it because it's about the Queen.
Don't
but
trip. I'm older now. I
okay,
might
all
watch
right,
it.
but it's actually really good.
Okay.
You know, the ins and the outs and stuff. And so what it's been following, it's they on season 3 now. I just watched it, but it has like it's you know, because the Queen is 93. She's one of the oldest ruling monarchs ever. 93. And when she got the crown, she was like 25 years old.
Oh, she got that LTD
Yeah,
in her system.
yeah,
she
yeah,
holding
yeah.
on, huh?
So she and you know, and she accidentally got the crown because really her father was a king, but her father's brother abdicated the throne. So she
Okay.
was really never so her father was never supposed to be king. It's just that his brother abdicated the throne. The father became the king, and so she was his heir. So that's how she came to the throne.
Gotcha.
But nevertheless, she's like one of the longest serving monarchs ever. Okay. So anyway, so they had this Netflix series about it, and they're on. So it started when it started with the uncle's abdication, following up to the father, you know, becoming king. This is during World War II, to her coronation, and now it's up to like the 70s and stuff. It's like season 3, you know. So it's like going through all these decades and all this these changes, you know. So it's fascinating to me. But nevertheless, so Prince Harry, did y'all see this? It was all on the news. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. I think they're the Duke,
they said,
Duke and Duchess of Sussex, I think is their
we
title.
gonna roll out and take.
Yeah.
We gonna fall back.
Yeah,
for
so they said
we tired of this shit. We ain't never gonna get it.
They
We gonna be old as hell by the time I've been
we
coming.
stepping,
fall
back. And you know what? I mean, I get it. Like I get it from his perspective because they were saying like he's sixth in line to the crown. So well, first of all, not even William.
Be old as
Charles.
hell.
Charles is first, and he's old. You know, because she old. He's old.
He's old too.
Then it's William, but then he has 2 sons. You know, he has 3 kids or 4 kids now. You know, so he's sixth in line to the crown. Like he's never going to be king. You know, so. And his thing, you know, he was always the younger brother, and you know, he kind of had a little, you know, little stuff going on when he was younger. You know, he was getting little things. But yeah, they saying we stepping back from our royal responsibilities, and
they said they making money on. They're gonna
yeah,
make money
and
on
they're
their
gonna
own.
try to like.
So
be
we got our
more
own hustle. We're done.
financially, you know, independent. You know,
Respect that.
so I can respect that too. You know, I think,
I
and
might
I
have
also
siphoned
think
some
that.
of them dollars away first before I fall back.
Well, see, but this is where it gets like kind of complicated
Get
because it's like, okay, you're gonna fall back, but you still living
in the
in
house.
these castles.
I know they
These,
about
you
to
know,
get them a townhouse. Jack. It's
taxpayers,
over.
yes, taxpayers are still paying for their housing.
Right.
Taxpayers still paying for their security. You know, so it's a little bit more complicated than just saying we're gonna fall back and do what be financially independent. But I will say, just on an overall kind of thing, I kind of like, I'm like, well, let's see how this is going to go. Like I kind of respect it a little. And I think it really, a lot of it is coming from his wife because, she's American.
Right.
Meghan Markle,
I
so
thought that too.
yeah, I'm like, and they were giving her a hard time in the press, and I didn't know they was giving her such a hard time.
You
The
must
British
live
press.
a certain lifestyle.
Yeah, so
She said it's brutal too.
yeah, I didn't
That's
know
too
they
much
was
work.
giving her that kind of a hard time. It seemed like they really liked her, but then all of a sudden, the British press is ruthless. So they say, you know what? Fall back. We falling back.
We don't have time for this right here.
Yeah,
We're going to go over here.
falling
We'll be right
and,
back.
This is
And
what
they'll
we
be
doing, and
fine.
we gonna
They'll
live
be
our
fine.
life.
Yeah, they'll
So
be
I
fine.
think
That's
they are
it.
gonna be fine, and I say hats off to him. He always seemed like the
I don't
the
wanna
rebel.
be
Yeah,
here.
So I'm like,
My grandma
let's see how
made me
they-
come
yeah.
here.
Let's see how they, let's see how they do. But I think if that's what they need to do for their family and for her, remember she had given that interview and she looked so sad. It's like
That's because they probably
sis,
gave her a 2-day brief of what
Yeah.
she should say, should
yeah,
not
she
say,
just
and all of
looked
that.
so
So,
sad,
they,
and it was like this
they didn't
is
give her any
still
love.
relatively new here. Like you only been married like a year.
Hey,
you know?
to your story, Miss E. Shout
Mhm.
out to Sam Seed, and he put that little meme, that SpongeBob,
yeah.
and it says I'm gonna head out, and so
What did it
and
say?
he said Prince
Come
Harry
on,
will
now.
never get the throne.
Right, he ain't
so
gonna,
yeah, man.
right, he ain't gonna get. So he
Yeah.
said, "I'm gonna live my life."
Some of
And,
the, I got to
we
live
gonna do-
150
yeah.
years for me to get this
Yeah,
right here.
So we'll see. So I say,
Right.
hats off to them. I mean, hats off to them. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Mhm.
All right. Well, listen,
We'll
I
find
got
out, man.
a quick little just an observation.
All right.
And some may take it as a critique, but just an observation. I actually I went live on Instagram about it. There is a section in Newark, and I pass it often when I'm coming home from work, and it's in I guess it's the South Ward. It's more in the South Ward of Newark. I won't give too much detail because I'm not really trying to put them on blast. And let me just give a disclaimer. This is about a number of churches, and I'm sure that many of those churches do work in the community and they service the community. I would hope so. But, if you're paying attention, especially me, being a minister of a small congregation, my senses are a little heightened when
Okay.
I see other prescriptions of faith or whatever.
Mhm.
And this is a seedy area. Okay,
Okay.
this section of Newark. At nighttime, you don't want to be caught in that area, and even in the daytime.
What section is this?
So
Our name is
it's
a
off
block,
it's off
no?
of Springfield. It's off of Springfield Avenue.
Somebody told
Springfield Avenue
y'all
goes
It's
a
off-
long
it's
way.
off of
at
Springfield
nighttime the monkeys come out, right?
Uh-huh,
But
okay.
check this out. There are about, I counted 7, but I forgot there are 2 more. There are approximately 9 churches in a 1-block radius. Different churches. Not annexes of other churches. 9 different churches.
That's a lot.
And
In-
what
in
I'm saying
one block?
is, I'm not questioning the locale, why they're so close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
But when you see that many churches, and the area is one of probably in the top 10 dangerous areas in Newark, I gotta look at that and say, what's going on? And here's the thing: there's always room. And I started out in the video that this was more of a gut check. I didn't necessarily look at it and think to myself, I'm gonna berate them, I'm gonna beat them,
Right.
browbeat them over the head. But it made me question even my little local, what I've been assigned to. That and the first thing that I thought is, man, I got to get to work, because I can't. That really bothered me to see 7+ churches in a block radius, and it's the usual suspects of a dangerous neighborhood. People who you can clearly see are out there, either addicted to something. There's abandoned houses in certain areas. It's an area where I know at one time it used to be heavily gang affiliated, and you got these 7 churches. You know what I'm saying? So to me, this is just me. And I'm saying this, I'm speaking this, I'm going to just talk about the local congregation that I'm a part of.
Okay.
Technically, your congregation, when it's in a neighborhood, first of all, it should be in a rough neighborhood. That's where it should. That's where it should
That's
start.
where the people need the help, bro.
That's
right,
where
right,
that's where it should start.
Right.
And what should happen is there should be growth and development through, a number of things, but also through the ministry that's going on in that house of worship. That house of worship should not be on an island by itself, self-contained, but yet nothing is reverberating out to the community.
Right.
Right?
True.
That's just one house of faith that is engaged with the community should have a rippling effect. Now, granted, certain congregations can't do what others can. Certain ones are limited to
right.
certain things, so you can only
Financially, right,
True.
right.
when you got 7+ churches in I swear to God, I'm not exaggerating this. You watch my video, I point out, I make sure that I don't,
Yeah,
get the
snap
names
it,
of it,
yeah.
but I point out, you can
Okay.
tell the clearly these are edifices of churches. So I'm just wondering, man. It's like it got the better. I just said, you know what? I gotta do a video of this because this is ridiculous. Now I've been living in Newark for 12 years, and I've been taking the same route, by and large. Mostly, pretty much the same route for those 12 years. I have not seen anything aesthetically that has changed, or. I don't know. Now, it's a broad brush that I'm using.
Okay.
It's a broad brush that I'm using in my observation because I don't know the pastors. I don't know any of the people that go there. They may have stories and testimonies of what they're doing. But once again, when I see 7 to 9 churches in a 1-block radius, and it's still one of the roughest sections of the city. I can't help but just say what you know,
Right.
what's and listen, like I said, I could be dead wrong in terms of the work they're doing, but it's just it didn't jive with me.
You know
there was
what?
something that I just had to look at that and say, wow, that's interesting. And so I closed my video with saying, this is a gut check because, and this is why so many people who used to be affiliated with congregations, churches, temples, whatever, places of, houses of God, are very cynical. Because many of them, when you talk to them, believe me, I've had my share of conversations with speaking to these folks.
Okay.
There's a cynicism there in their thinking that something is not right. Something's not right. And I agree with them. The houses of worship today compared to yesteryear are not what they used to be. And many make the argument, and I feel the same way with some of these pastors, who are on a grand scale, and then some who are just mediocre in terms of just popularity or whatever, that many of them have sold out the church. This is just my personal feelings. When you taking government funding, now you play to the puppet master. When you take these loans and you build up, it's one thing to build up a church and have all this stuff, but now it's no longer ground zero for a lot of organizing, dealing with social issues, whereas at one time it used to be that. But now, and a lot of these ministers and pastors no longer speak to, issues that are dealing with their communities that have hewn them. And so there's a lot of challenges. Now, with that being said, there are a lot of progressive, great organizations of faith.
Shout out to the real men and women
that are doing
of
something.
the word, because
but
2020 is going to be the year that the prosperity pimp has to disappear.
Yeah,
you know
man,
what I
because
mean?
listen, and I'm speaking as a minister.
Right.
This is I have an up close front, I've been to many of these congregations. I've seen something.
Showtime.
Here's the other piece. Not just so much viewing it, but there are criticisms that come in from the congregants when you talk and you meet with them. I've had people from other congregations, and ours is very small, say, man, I wish our minister did, or I wish we did this. As big as we are, we don't even, all we do is, I remember one time going to visit someone in the hospital, and I had been there a few times, and the woman was like, oh, you don't send representatives on your behalf?
Like, nah,
and I said, well,
yeah.
first of all, we don't have the numbers for that. But secondly, no, it's our charge to do that.
Yeah.
Anybody
Right.
else can come if they want.
Right.
And she was like, oh, well, my minister, he don't even come. He sends this and that. So, and granted, I understand that certain houses of faith are set up differently.
And
but,
maybe they're big,
and they're
like
big,
I could, I
but-
can understand that.
But with that being
Yeah.
said,
Or
with
bigger,
with 7 big churches,
Is it 7 big churches?
they're
I
pretty.
didn't see.
They're,
I didn't
they're
see
sizable.
like the.
They're sizable. They're pretty
okay.
sizable. And I'm being nice when I say 7 because, like I said, there are 2. Technically, they're not within the block radius, but they're like 2 blocks down the street. So if you just do a not even a mile, but like a quarter-mile radius, there are 9 churches visually that you can see. And the area is still dangerous. So I'm saying, one space, there are 2 components, and they should not be occupying the same space. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
I got you.
There are 2 components, and there should either be one or the other when you got 7 to 9 churches that close in proximity. And maybe one day, I don't know. I know it sounds hard to believe with all those churches, but you got to see it for yourself to believe it. And so it doesn't jive with me.
I got you.
That's the only way I could really put it.
Shout out to Alex
So-
Smith. He said Springfield Avenue is in the central ward, goes up to the west ward.
Okay,
So,
there you go.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Can he confirm what I'm talking about in terms of those churches? He doesn't have to name any of
But
them.
I mean, has it gotten like? has it gotten better? Was it worse than that? Like, and I do agree that
I haven't seen a change.
I do agree that there are churches that, you know, if you're gonna go like into the belly of the beast, I'm not saying you got to be in the belly of the beast, you know, but it certainly, you know, those people would probably need it the most. You know what I mean? Like if you feeding the homeless, if you're providing, you know, because a lot of times churches too do other things that are not like so obvious. And let's be honest, most black churches, and it is my opinion, but it's also been my observation, are not. I'm talking about your average black church does not have a pimp in the pulpit like
Correct.
a pimp. You know what I mean? Like they're
Correct.
barely making ends meet. A black church, you know, you relying on regular members, you know, to pay
keep the
their
lights
tithes,
on,
to
all
keep
that,
the
yeah.
lights on and all that.
Right.
Like I've never seen a pastor, in my experience, like be driving these flashy cars. Like, okay, maybe he might have had every pastor that I've known always had another job.
Yeah.
Okay, always had another job,
Really?
including every pastor that
Well, I
I've
know
known,
your grandfather
right.
did. You know I know that.
Right, and they was church mice poor.
Right. Well,
Okay,
well, here's
yeah.
the thing. And let me say this. Let me say
I
this.
tell you, they was church mice poor.
But the reason why
But even
why
the pastors that I grew up with, they all had another
okay,
job.
because I was going to say
'Cause I
the
know-
reason why
yeah,
yours did
right.
is because we're just simply not set up
No,
that
no,
way
I
to
know,
live
I
off
know.
of-
Right.
No,
No,
but,
I understand. Right.
And don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. If let's focus on the pastor for a minute. If a pastor is a working pastor, meaning, you know, he's doing all the requirements of he's visiting the sick, he's burying your dead of
Right,
the family,
for
he's
nothing,
marrying,
darn near
he's doing
nothing,
all
right.
it, and he gets a decent wage to live off of for his family and everything.
I ain't got no problem with
God,
that.
All
right,
well and
right,
good.
All well and
All
good.
well and
right,
good.
Right.
Now, if his living is far surpassing the lay people, the
You mean like
congregants,
buying a $200,000 Lamborghini and
let me tell
wearing
you.
$4,000
but
Yeezys?
Yeah,
I got a problem with
of
that.
course,
And see,
right,
I had a
of
big
course,
problem
of
with that.
course,
see, the thing
right.
is that I don't, you know, in terms of most pastors that we know, that
Mm-hmm.
might be true, but when it becomes an issue, when the FBI has to start looking into
Very true.
because a number of them are grown. Like
I
it's not a
understand.
lot.
No,
it's
I
not a
know,
lot
I
of
know.
them, but
Right.
it's getting to a point where it's alarming. There was a church out where I used to live in Maryland, in the Largo area, and the pastor had a helicopter pad on the top of his church.
Really?
He was white, and all his members, 99.9% of his members, were black.
Jim Jones Jr.? Oh,
Pretty much.
Did I say that?
Oh,
And,
yeah.
Did I say that
and that's
out
not
loud?
the. I mean, that's not the. That's not the. Well,
Right.
Yeah,
any-
I mean,
in any
is,
event,
it is. Yeah,
I mean,
This is
he had
different.
like
yeah.
a private
But you know
That's
what?
crazy.
driving and all this
That's
stuff. And then we
crazy.
all
Yeah.
saw the video of the one minister that was at
I
some
saw
kind
that.
of
Yeah,
litigation
yeah,
or
yeah.
some kind
He
of
was asking about
and they
his
were
stuff,
asking about
yeah.
his apparel.
Yeah.
And then we have Creflo Dollar, and he's telling his congregants that he
I
needs
need
a
a
new
$65 million
Learjet so
to
he
go
can get
somewhere else.
so he can get to
No,
his
I
ministry
understand.
quicker.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
understand it,
And
but
then
that's
And so you got
they're outliers.
You have
know? I
a
think your average black church is
Well, Sam C has a good point.
Mm-hmm.
He says, my thoughts on this, you have 7 churches on one block.
Mm-hmm.
I can almost guarantee you that each one of them churches don't have any more than 20 members.
That's
being
what I was
nice.
thinking too.
So
right.
what can you
I
really
was
do?
thinking that,
If the
too.
congregation
Are
is
they-
barely keeping the lights on, it would be a thing to see if these pastors would put their egos aside and consolidate. Then you would have something to fight the
I agree with
illness in
that.
that area.
Right,
I agree with that.
too.
I
right.
don't agree. I do contest the 20 because these are some pretty sizable churches. So I
You never know, though.
I
You
see
know,
them having more than that.
I've
but,
been in a
but I
church with
agree with him,
a
though.
big old church, and you walk in, you like,
Yeah,
what
but
is this, choir
sometimes-
rehearsal? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's very possible that, or at one point they had a whole lot of members, and then membership started to
Shift
die
on.
off.
Right.
You know, and a lot of the elders that are still there still go to church, and a lot of the younger folks are saying, you know what?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna do some investigating reporting.
Yeah, please do
And
that.
I'm
'cause
gonna
I
roll
wanna-
through there on
yeah.
a Sunday and
Yeah,
see
see
what's
what's
going
Go
on.
check it out,
man.
man. Go
Let's
check
see
it
what's
out.
going
See what's going
on.
on, right? Because I'm with
Yeah.
you on this on the point that this is a sizable church, with I'm thinking of following, right? Because to me, when you're saying sizable church, I would equate that with some kind of following, right? Some type of certain level of membership, a certain demographic, so to speak, that could afford to pay tithes every week, right?
True.
In that case, like, yeah, then I understand what you're saying. Like, hey, man, like, what's going on? Clean up our block, But then on the same token, it's like, clean up the block, and where are these people going? Like, what are they doing for these people? Maybe there's nowhere for them to go. Like, what do you want to do? Okay, we can sweep the block, but what are you doing? Sweeping them out to where? You know what I'm saying? How are you helping them?
Right.
And I do know that a lot of churches will open up their doors to the community, like a lot of Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, a lot of Narcotics Anonymous meetings are held in churches.
Right.
So there's other things that they might be doing as well for the community. If we're talking about, these people look like they're addicted. Maybe there's also a place for them to go, but you can't force people. You can't force people to go anywhere. But my other question is, like, where are they going? Where are they going to go?
When you say they, who are you talking? You talking about
the for lack of a better word, the undesirables in the neighborhood.
Oh, in the neighborhood.
Like, where are they gonna go? So yeah. I mean, it's. But you listen. You do some research.
I certainly will.
Check that out.
Check that out.
Because I'll be honest with you. I mean, is and again, to think that they're not doing anything. You gotta. You got to be a little more insightful in that.
They must have some kind of in with a councilman. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about.
But to have just 7 on one block in an area that's just, it's pretty bad.
Okay.
Has your friend? Has he?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Not yet.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. Well, so anyway, that just sparked my interest to report on it. Yes, sir. Dean Geronimo.
You know what?
got?
I'm gonna flip
And
this
I'm
for a
not trying to be
minute.
funny, but I'm just gonna say this: Mount Olive was in the heart of the projects.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All kinds of things happen in the. You know what I mean? Like, are they responsible for everything that? You know what I'm saying? Like, you had Mount Olive and Shiloh, and those were some of the two biggest churches in Plainfield, and they were in the heart.
Well,
of
to answer your question, I'll say this. I'll say that, only they can answer that question.
Okay.
Because I'll be honest with you, if somebody got shot, if crime was constantly going on where my temple is, I'd feel partly responsible. And because, again, what is your church or your congregation there for? Other than, see, the worship service is one thing. That's a personal thing. But the real ministry starts outside those walls, and it's supposed to directly affect. So my thing is, I'm not saying that the church, it's the church's soul. It's the onus is fully on them and no one else to clean up. But at the same time, there's got to be some kind of impact there. Now, I'll tell you this. I will say this, that in that same rough area of Shiloh and what's the other church?
Mount Olive.
Mount Olive. For years, I would see the Nation of Islam on the ground in the projects on the corner, selling their papers, but at the same time, conversing with the brothers in the street and making it safe just by their very presence. I will say that. And so, to me, I just feel, put it this way, if I saw 8 or 9 mosques, if I saw 8 or 9 different mosques, that would be something, and it was a rough area where people are constantly getting, where just seedy things are going on, and it's a rough area. I would question it, and I think you should. I think even with us, like I said, there's more that we can do. I don't care how small of a congregation we are, but if seedy things started happening around our tabernacle right now, and it's happening, and I let it go for a couple of years, I would feel partly responsible for that.
Yeah.
So to
I-
have 7 churches
I
in
think,
one area.
maybe we need
it's
to
like,
do some
eh.
research
Well,
because you
you
don't
know
know
what?
how many times they have done
They-
that. You know what
Well,
I'm
that's
saying?
what I said in
Yeah,
the
we
beginning.
gotta-
What
we
I
gotta
said
do some
was,
research.
and what I said, if you watch my video, I said, I'm sure that, people can say, hey, these churches are actually doing work, whatever.
Right.
But I was just looking at it from the outside looking in. So that's
Yeah.
why I said, there could be things going on beyond my knowledge
Right.
of what I know.
Right.
Well, they say that the kingdom of heaven is within you and all around you, not in buildings made of wood and stone. So,
That's right.
that remains to be seen what work they do and what else needs to be done. But it also takes the rest of us to join together. A lot of times, everyone wants to be the lead singer, and you have 15 different things, and they're all doing one thing instead of banding together and branching out and being able to do multiple things. Everyone wants to be that lead singer. So at some point, we gotta put pride to the side and look at the bigger picture. Sometimes we look at that small screen, and it's different. Organizations do it, churches do it. Almost everybody does the same thing. They got a mentoring program. You got one. You got one. I'm gonna get one. Like,
Jump on
at
somebody's
what point is-
coattail if you
I'm
don't
gonna
have
say,
one.
look, you got a mentoring program.
Yeah.
What can we do to help?
Yeah.
And then
absolutely.
it grows. A tree doesn't just sprout one branch and then 15 other trees come behind it.
Yeah.
It grows and
No,
it
I
branches
understand.
off, and
I'm
it
with
goes
you on
out.
that, right.
So that's one of the things that we need to look
Let
at
me-
doing.
let me
too.
To your point, we reached out to Shiloh because they have a food pantry and they have a soup kitchen. And we asked if we could volunteer at their soup kitchen. I explained to them,
Right.
we're small
Right.
and we don't have one yet, but we would
Right.
like to. So I'm all for that. When Malcolm split, he had I think it was the AOOU, and then he had Muslim Mosque Incorporated. And the Muslim Mosque Incorporated was just specifically for the Muslims, the ones who followed him, and so they could have a spiritual outlet. But is it the AAOU or the AOOU? I forget which one it is. But that was an organization that pretty much spoke to what you just talked about, where, hey, look, how can we cross religious lines and philosophies and just come together on a common thread
Yeah.
to fight a common threat, right?
Right.
So in a sense, religious communities should do that too, because guess what? We talked about this before. If you and I always give this example, if we stumbled into a Klan rally, they're not going to
They're going
lynch
to
you.
see two of a certain kind of people.
Yeah, they're not
No,
gonna lynch me
right,
first
right,
because
right.
I practice Judaism.
Right.
You practice Christianity. They
Right.
seeing one thing, and that's
And there's something
right.
that they
So,
don't particularly
I
care
agree
for.
with you wholeheartedly.
Right, exactly. One other thing, and flipping it just a little bit. Tomorrow, man, make sure y'all go and support the movie Just Mercy. It comes out nationwide tomorrow, starring Michael B. Jordan, Jamie Foxx, and my man, 50 grand. I call him Shadow Flax. His name's Rob Morgan. He'll be playing the role of Herbert Richardson. So
All right.
it's actually, make sure y'all go and support that. Virginia State Stand Up. I got to shout them out. So, that's what I do. I'm the shout out king, man. Something like that.
You want to read
What
your
we got
boy
there?
Sam C?
Yeah, you know what? Let me read that real
Go
quick.
ahead, brother. You
All
got
right.
it.
Sam C just said, I grew up in the church in my teenage years in the 90s. I began to see that there was a rift. What I saw was that the church back then couldn't really relate to the youth. To me, it seemed that the church was stuck in the civil rights generation. I'm only saying that for lack of better words. You
That's
got
still a challenge,
And you
too.
know what? You got a great
It's still
point
a
because
challenge.
now we have another problem. You have the older generation that says, we did it this way.
Yeah.
We have the younger generation that says, that's outdated, so we're going to do it this way, instead of everybody sitting down and relating to each other and learning what worked and maybe something that could be used now.
And a lot of
Put it
people
in a
aren't-
pot
yeah,
like gumbo,
a
put it
lot-
together.
Yeah.
And then as soon as for the older generation, sometimes you got to explain something a little bit more to get them to understand.
Right,
but once they
right.
understand what you're trying to do, they will support you until they pass out.
Right, right.
And that's one thing that Sometimes again, pride again, like
Yep.
they don't know what they talking about. They did that back in the days. It's
But
old
you know
and
what?
outdated.
We're at that generation now. Like I would have said, yeah, 10 years ago. But like at this point in our lives, we are that generation,
Right.
Right. So
We are them now.
We are them now. You know. So.
Yeah.
You know, that's our mantle, you know, to carry. We talk about mentoring, we talk about this, we talk about that.
Right.
It's like this, we're that generation.
Yeah.
You know, we're, you know, our I mean, I look at my mother's generation. You know, nobody's leaning on them like that. You know, like, yes, they have sage wisdom, but you can't be relying on 80 something year olds to be doing the work. Like,
No.
it's our generation
But
now
one thing
that has
about
to
their
do the
generation
work,
too,
you know?
though, if you don't ask, they ain't gonna tell you. They'll tell you when you're wrong and they'll correct you.
Yeah.
But they just won't volunteer. Like my he'll be 82 in April.
Right.
His generation is like, you know what? I'll tell you everything you want to know, but you got to ask me for it.
And you know
You
what?
know what I mean?
And to that point, because I mean, I've you know had aunts and stuff, but there does come a point. I guess this is my main point is that I remember one time I had to tell my aunt respectfully that yes, I know there's things that you know, but there's things that I know that you don't know.
That's true.
Right.
You know, so.
Right.
That's
You
true.
know, we have to and what I know is going to be a little more progressive. What I know may move us forward a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So,
That's true.
but we're that generation now where we have to. When you look at Martin Luther King and you look at Malcolm X, these were men in their 30s.
Yeah.
In
39.
their 30s. They both
39
died.
when they died when they were 39.
They died, but. Martin Luther King was what 20-something years old when he led the
The bus
Montgomery
boycott,
bus
yeah.
boycott. Like
25.
we're well past that age. This is
Yeah.
we're at we need to be
Right.
taken.
Well,
You know what I'm
what-
saying?
what are
Like
we going
this,
to do
right,
moving
it's
forward
Right. It's on
to
us.
make some things
You know,
work.
right? It's on
Right.
us.
One thing that always works is you have to listen. You got to listen to the youth.
You
gotta,
have to, right.
Now, you don't have to agree with everything, but at least listen because we came up in that age where, you know, you didn't have much to say.
No,
it was
Right.
like you
right.
talk
You
too
did,
much.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, you don't.
You
young,
were
you know
seen
what
and
you're
not
talking about.
heard. Yeah,
And-
right.
and I
That's how we
think-
came up,
And
right?
I think that's paid some big dividends in a negative.
Right.
Because you know the study, and I think we've read this before that they looked at the youth between the ages of like 18 to 25, and that age that group has drastically declined because they've given up on the church.
Right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
in
that
that-
was my other
in
point.
that
Like they
article-
don't go to church,
Right,
right?
in-
These
in
kids
that-
don't go to church,
in that
right?
same article, they talked about, and that's where I got it from. In that article, they said, you know, the church used to be ground zero for organizing. We're getting tired of the same message, and I'm saying we, because even our generation, we was still, you know, had some youth to us, of the same message coming from the church of when something happens, all right, everybody calm down, let's go home, and let's let things play out and take its course. This generation, they're not going for that.
Yeah, and that's
They're
not
not
the,
trying
and
to-
also
they're not
it's
trying to
not
listen
their
to
only
that.
avenue.
Right.
You know,
and
it's not their
right.
only
And
avenue.
you know, so
Right.
you know, people have looked at, you know, the church, and even me, I've looked at the church over the years as just being, you know, this pacifier. And it has to find its footing again. And here's the thing.
And also,
One
too,
scandal in the religious community is one scandal too many.
yeah, and it has long lasting
So
effects.
when you
yeah.
have the Tammy Faye and the Jim Bakers and then you have the you know the scandals in the black church
The
and
prosperity
and
pimps,
and,
man.
see, here's the thing.
They don't count.
There's a lot of commonalities in the black church too.
Right.
Those commonalities, like, yeah, there may not be wealthy ministers, you know, flying in and driving in their Bugattis, but you have some of the same things playing out in the church sometimes, which I don't want to get deep into.
Don't do it. Don't that.
Yeah, I ain't gonna get deep into it, but I mean, listen, you let your imagination run, and I guarantee you, it's happened in the church. And let's face it, we bring a lot of the world into the church, and so you have politics that play, you have nepotism that runs rampant in the church, you have all everything, And so people now are also looking at different avenues other than the church to find spirituality.
Right.
And some people feel that the church is handcuffing them from speaking to social issues and addressing them head on. Because a lot of us have gotten so wrapped up in spirituality and, you know, just straight spirituality.
Okay.
And we use that as
I was going to say,
as
because
a
it's other
facade.
organizations, man, that you can, you know, you can join that fight for
Yeah,
justice, the
yeah.
NAACP
Yeah,
and
man.
others, you know. So you're not just stuck to one
Right.
organization.
Right.
You know,
Right.
my brother
And-
Craig Presley said communication, patience, and understanding can resolve numerous issues.
It can.
And sometimes that's
Yeah.
something that we don't want to do. You
It
know,
can.
we don't want to sit down across the table from someone we have a disagreement with. We rather turn around and not say anything else to them, but the issue is still there.
Yeah.
So
Right.
now, not only do we have the outside problems, we got an internal issue that nobody wants to solve. And somebody that says, you know what, I'm tired of this. Now we're going to talk. No, we ain't going to talk. Yeah, we're going to talk today. And moving emotion all the way out of it.
Right.
Tell me what your problem is with me. I'll tell you what my problem is with you. And then we're going to go from there.
Right.
But nobody does that.
Right.
Right.
You know, nobody does. It's time to
guess,
start
you know-
doing that, because now you got all these little, whatever idea you have that now we've listened to, like, you know what? We can get behind it. Somebody else comes in and say, nah, Miss E, man, I don't really like her. You know?
Right,
Nobody
right,
cares what you like. This is a good
Right.
idea.
It's
and
for
we
the
try
greater
to do it.
good.
What,
It's for the
what
greater
do you
good.
have to offer? Well, you know, we just need to, no, you just need to sit
See,
your
I
ass
think,
down.
yeah,
you know what I
think too
mean?
sometimes that it's just a lot of talk. It's not just the churches too, but like, what about are there businesses in the area? Like, what it takes a whole community. It's not just on the church. You know what I'm saying? It's you know, who's the councilman for that area? You know, like, where's the representation for that area? You know, like, it's a bigger issue than just, and I don't care how big that church is. You know, they're not going to be able to clean up everything. You know, so I understand what you're saying, Wonder, but
Well, the
to
dynamics
point,
are
it's like
not the size of the church.
community.
The point I'm making is, and again, everything you said, I put it out there as a disclaimer. But when you have 7 in a block radius,
Well, what else
That's-
is in the block,
that's-
though? What
it-
else is there?
good
Just
question.
Just the church?
good question. Yeah, man. You got churches, but then in between, you got a dilapidated house. There's a bodega. There's some projects. And then there's just, like I said, there's the usual
Yeah.
suspects. So what I'm saying is, and like I said before, the onus isn't all on the church. I've said this, but for it to be 7, that's a special look of 7 churches in that area. And for the 12 years I've been riding through there, for it to pretty much look the same. But again, this is from an external view.
Yeah.
I don't know what the internal looks like.
Yeah.
So that
Gotta-
it's just
yeah.
an observation. But it makes any minister worth his salt if he or she were to ride through there, would look, and they would, I guarantee you, they'd be like, good Lord, what is this? You know, because when I first drove through there, the very first time 12 years ago, when I saw it, you know, I didn't pay too much attention. And then I was like, well, maybe they're annexes. And then I was like, no. And then there's 2 right across the street from each other. Like, one person could literally come out, throw a rock, and hit the other door across the street. So I'm
And you know what?
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now, are we getting in the? Here's the thing. When I was little, I used to wonder, why does McDonald's set up? If the Burger King is here, why is McDonald's going to set up right here?
Man, that's
and then why is
competition,
Wendy's? Thank you. And then why is Wendy's going to set up right here? And then and so, you know, this is just all, you know, I'm just asking a question.
Well, you got another question right here. You know,
Okay.
Tangela Joy says, why aren't the churches rebuilding the properties that are run down? So that's a good question.
And
Yeah, but
that's
they
all I'm
probably don't
saying.
That's a
have the
very
money,
good
'cause They
question.
don't have the money. That's why. You know, they probably don't have the
Maybe
money.
they do, but maybe they
Yeah,
maybe they don't,
Maybe
and maybe
it's-
they do. Out of 7, maybe they don't, maybe they do. I don't know. I don't know. But that's a good
That's an
question.
interesting question.
Yeah, it is
You know
an
what I
interesting
mean?
question. And then also, the other interesting question: you want the churches to rebuild the property. How come businesses aren't rebuilding the property? I mean, that's their line of work. You know what I'm saying? How come businesses aren't drawn to the area? You know, that's not the church's responsibility to attract business to that area.
What's going to end
You
up
know what I'm
happening,
saying?
unfortunately, is
That's
what
not the
happened in
church's
Harlem.
responsibility.
You know, what happened in other cities. Some folks are going to come in and buy those properties. And they're going to fix those properties up. The downside to it is they're going to force people out.
Oh, that's gentrification
know,
101.
They come in, they buy up
Well,
the whole block,
that's
they
what I'm
make it
saying.
beautiful,
What I'm saying
but
is,
they kick all of us out.
and that's what I'm saying. Like, relying on the churches, and I get it to a certain degree, but like, where's everybody else at? You know what I mean? Like with these people that
Right.
come into
They have
buy,
no
how
room
come
to
other
set up because
people-
there's 7 churches
how
on one
come-
block. That's what it is.
Well, you know what?
Listen, I was
What do
looking
you
at.
mean?
I was
I don't
looking.
understand.
I was
don't
because
understand
you
what
keep
that
saying
means.
like, well, where they at or where they
You know
gonna
what?
go? You asking the
But-
question where they gonna
where
they gonna go?
Yeah, where are the people that are in need gonna go? But
Right.
if we're talking about how come the church don't buy the property, how come other people don't buy the property?
Well, I think Sam C
You
got
know?
the answer. He says
What'd he
that's
say?
a problem in the black community that we have as a whole. We put feelings over doing business. Doesn't
Right.
matter if we like each other. Can we get business done?
Right,
we
exactly.
agree with
Like,
that.
this is-
Yet to
this is
realize
about
that.
We agree with
business,
that.
Right. This
Mm-hmm.
is about business. So all the, I don't know.
It's gonna have to
I
take,
don't wanna, like,
but you know what? It's gonna have to take
say
a
the
group
wrong
of folks to
thing.
say, you know what?
go ahead,
I'm
say
tired
it.
of looking at this
No,
rundown building.
It's I'm
I'm
saying,
gonna put up
like,
a third.
I'm
You
gonna
put up a
exactly
third.
like
and we're
where's
gonna
the
go in here.
consortiums, right?
My man
to
does
put together,
carpentry.
right,
We're gonna get him
right,
to come in here and fix us up.
exactly, exactly.
And if we sell
That's
it and
what I'm
break
talking
even,
about.
we're good.
That's
you know
what
what I
I'm
mean? If we make
talking
a profit,
about, right.
we're good because then we can go fix
Right,
that
where
house
where
over
are
there.
those people at? Right, exactly. Where are those?
Sometimes
people
people
at?
get so used to what is
well,
that they just say,
you know,
Well, out of,
yeah.
that's the
well,
rundown
once
house,
again,
you know?
I
You
say
know.
out of the 7 churches, you would think they would be there.
It depends, though. It
I mean,
depends.
You think they would be
You know what I
there?
mean?
Well,
Like-
you
Here's-
would
see,
think
here's
they
what you
might
gotta
be
understand.
in the church, but
Here's-
what I'm
here's-
saying is that it might not be the church's
Here's-
responsibility.
But here's what I'm saying.
I'm talking about
If-
their responsibility, like as far as like a business. Church is a nonprofit, you know. So yes, there's congregants. Sometimes like separating the congregants. I don't know what their congregations are like. Even outside of the congregation, where are these, businesses, these consortiums, these initiatives to buy these abandoned buildings up, and turn them around.
Church
to buy the
initiatives do it all.
block,
Church,
you know?
other church initiatives, other places of worship initiatives do that all the time, and it doesn't take 7 on one block. So here's what I'm saying.
There are
so
other
you
churches,
have
but
you
what I'm
have
saying
this
is,
one
where's the
mosque
business?
in
Where's the
Indiana
business at?
where they built a school. They bought the plaza. They built the school, a restaurant, and they have their mosque there, right? A small mosque. It's a small mosque in Indiana. In what's the main city in Indiana?
Indianapolis.
Indianapolis. I believe it's Indianapolis, Indiana. Okay. What I'm saying is that if I have a hospital in the middle of a city and people are just continuously sick or they're dying, and you're looking at that hospital, and then you put up a second hospital, then a third hospital, and yet the people are still sick and dying, aren't you going to question that? If there's like 3 hospitals, like in let's say a 5-block radius, and yet, and let's say like they have the highest rate of like, dying as soon as they arrive on the scene or whatever.
Yeah, you know
what
what,
I'm
there's
saying
some that-
is, and I'm looking
Yeah, I
through this
understand.
through ministerial eyes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm looking through this
at it as a bigger
because
issue.
I'm
Yeah.
looking at this because if you are in charge of a place of faith and there are 7 churches, can you wrap your mind around that?
I can,
7
but
churches
I
on
wonder,
one block.
These are
On one
must
block.
Be small.
You're
churches
assuming
So
that.
now-
You're
but-
assuming
Well, you
that.
said, all right.
We don't
you
know.
said-
But
right,
regardless-
we don't know.
But
But I'm saying
regardless of
7.
Right.
but
We
regardless
don't.
of size, right? who's saying,
Yeah, and
let's
it doesn't take a
all
lot.
get
It doesn't take a
together,
lot.
regardless of faith,
right. Don't take a lot.
regardless of ideology. This
That's
is what
what
this is
I'm
the goal.
saying. Forget the
Let's
church.
get
What
together
about
and make
outside
this
of the
happen.
church? Right? What about?
I'm not talking
the
about
people
my
outside of
topic
the
was
church?
what's going on with 7 churches in a 1-block radius,
Okay.
and the area still looks shoddy. That's
I
what I'm
guess
saying.
my
and I'm
thing
speaking.
is,
and here's the thing.
And again, my thing
It's
is,
just
I
like,
don't think
don't-
it's the church's
Don't
sole
worry about other
responsibility.
people. Worry about what you. I'm saying you. This is what I said to myself. I can't worry
Okay.
about the park commission, which is right across the street from us. Right. I can't say, why is all that stuff going on over there? We shouldn't be held responsible for that. That's not the way you're supposed to look at it. If you're a local leader of a congregation or just a member of a congregation, you should feel some kind of responsibility if you are professing that you belong to a house of worship that does this and that, and say, now granted, I'm not saying every church is built for that, and there may be different circumstances with these churches. And let me tell you, none of these churches, there was only one church that was small. The rest of them were, I'm just talking edifice wise. I don't know how many members they had, but they were sizable churches. And when I do the math of 7 churches, 1 block, 12 years, same look, as I have to question that. That's all. It just looks
I
odd to
question
me.
it too, but I'm not
Looks
like
odd.
gonna question the church about it. Like I'm feeling
I am.
I would be questioning the local leadership. And I'm not talking about the church, man.
But
Forget
but
the
no,
pastors.
but
I'm
we
not
did.
talking
But
about
the
pastors.
church,
I'm talking about
they
people
are
that
the
were elected
listen.
to
No.
run that city.
Something was said.
You know,
I was listening.
They're not elected officials.
I was listening.
There are other people
I was
that
listening.
are elected officials.
I was listening to an interview by Minister Nuri Muhammad. He made a good point. He said, "I never knew of a politician to be a savior of people, and when you look in Scripture, they were usually on the side of the tyrants. It was usually the spiritual and the righteous that led the people."
Okay.
Now,
I'm
when
not
you
talking about-
now
I'm
when
not
you
talking
are
about saving souls, Wanda. I'm talking
not
about
talking
the
about that
block.
either. I'm talking about
the block.
I'm talking
about
right.
businesses.
But what I'm
talking about
saying,
why does it look
what
right
I'm saying,
down?
what I'm
That's
saying
not the
is,
church.
what I'm saying is, yeah. But when you are doing work, I'll give you an example. There's a tabernacle in East New York. Shout out to Ninth Tabernacle in East New York. That's the last of the frontier of Brooklyn in terms of it being gentrified. East New York is probably the roughest part of Brooklyn. The area where this tabernacle sits on Fountain Avenue, that place was dangerous. So much so that they were breaking into the tabernacle at one point.
Wow.
Now, the reason what happened was it stopped when a different pastor was put in there, engaged the people, would open the doors, have many things going on for the community, would literally go across the street where these cats were at, invite them in. That community has changed in a short time. Now, some of the very usual suspects that were probably vandalizing that place, look out and protect that place. What I'm saying is that I'm speaking through ministerial eyes because it challenged me that, you know what, I need to do more as well. Because I'm gonna tell you something. I would be embarrassed if the place around where I'm at started falling apart. I don't care if business is supposed to come in there and
That's why I
help,
brought up
or
Mount
if this
Olive,
is supposed to
because
come in and
Mount Olive
help.
is in the heart of the projects.
Okay.
The heart of the projects.
Okay.
That's why I brought him up. Like, was Pastor Nichols responsible for everything that happened in the projects? And what makes you think he didn't?
I didn't say anybody was wholly responsible.
Okay,
all I
right.
said is that the optics of 7 churches on one block in an area that has looked the same and is still dangerous for 12 years looks
Yeah.
odd to me. That's all I'm
It
saying.
looks odd to me too, and I.
Interesting
7 churches.
conversation,
There's-
y'all.
Not
Yeah,
the 7
there's-
churches of Asia.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Wow.
Not the 7 churches.
It's-
of
Well,
England.
like I said, let's
You know
do
what I
some
mean?
research because you don't know
We
those
gon-
people that are running those churches.
And that's what I
could have
said.
Could have had their
That's what
souls
I knew we was
saved.
going to get down to. You don't know. That's why I
No,
said
I'm
I
not-
don't know in
No,
the
we-
beginning. I
We
put
gonna
out
follow
a
up with
disclaimer.
this. We gonna follow
I
up
just said
with
it looked
man.
odd.
Okay.
Look at my video on Instagram, and I
We gonna
said
follow-
everything.
We gonna follow up with
Yeah,
it.
we are.
You know what I
follow up
mean?
And see
And-
who's running the church,
Yeah, we
so you can hold them responsible.
See,
for the
taking
building
it all out
permits
of.
and- I'm
All I
not
said.
taking it out
All
of
I said.
context.
You know what,
What
y'all?
I'm saying
Time
is
out.
that
Put a flag
that's
on the
one
plate.
thing. It's,
But
it's,
see-
Look,
it's
look,
one
look,
area,
look.
I guess. And I understand what you're
See,
saying.
we
Yes,
went
there's 7
to.
churches.
I never said that they should be. Why do I keep repeating myself with this? And it keeps coming back. I said it looks odd
so
that
who
there's
is
7.
responsible? But you just.
But
you
I'm not
just,
saying what I'm
But
saying
you just
is.
said.
But
You
what
just
I'm saying.
used an example of a tabernacle in East New York that brought the community in and saved the
I thought I
neighborhood.
said
Yay
who was
for them.
responsible.
Yeah, yay for
I
them.
said that any minister, he or she worth his salt,
You said they would be embarrassed.
allows a community to
Right.
be run down and for
said, right,
seedy
should be
stuff
embarrassed.
to go
Right.
on would feel responsible.
Right.
Now, are they the only ones that should be held responsible?
Nah,
of course
everybody is. Tangela, I agree with you.
but once again, when you
Right.
got 7 ministers of 7 different churches and
Okay.
the same stuff
Well,
in the
please
community,
visit
that's
them.
odd.
Please visit
It-
them.
it
I don't
comes-
see how that could be like, well,
Well,
we don't know.
I don't
We
think
No,
it's
it's
just-
gonna
I
have to
don't- I
come
don't
down
think
to
it's just
one
a
thing, man,
church.
and it's respect. And you
Yeah.
spoke about how you went across the street, talked to those instead of turning his.
That's it.
Who
You know,
said
now-
they
so now-
turning their back?
No, no,
Come
no, no,
on,
no,
you
no,
guys
no,
are
no,
jumping
wait,
to conclusions now.
No, no. What I'm
All
saying
right,
is,
But
okay.
in the
you
example
say they
of-
got small congregations
Okay.
in the church.
in the example
Well,
of
clearly they're
You
not
don't know
rich.
that.
in
You
it,
clearly
You
they're
don't
not.
know that either. That's
I
jumping to a
wonder
conclusion.
if
No.
they were, they wouldn't be there. Now let's be honest. Let's
That's
be
not
honest.
true.
Okay,
Well,
all right.
what
okay.
I what I
not
was
true.
what I was
Okay.
gonna say is
Because if you're trying
That's
to
not
attract
true.
rich people to your church, you're not going to be there. Now let's be honest.
now,
That's not true.
Let's-
Listen,
When I-
one of the
Okay.
biggest churches, one of the biggest, wealthiest churches in LA is in the Crenshaw area, where Chris Tucker goes and Magic Johnson goes. It's in the hood.
It's a
Go
celebrity
ahead.
Well,
church.
when we-
Wonder.
when
That's
we-
a little different.
when we start to respect all the way around differences and everything else, then we can all sit at the table and come up with a plan to move together, whether it be here, or here. Until we do all of those things, places are still going to look that way.
I agree.
You know, no one person can say, oh, it's on them, or it's on them, or it's on the church, or it's on this. Everybody has to come together, and we've done that for so long now that when we point out who's responsible, instead of saying, you know what can we all do
We're going to be having this
to push it,
conversation
you know what I
forever.
mean? No, I'm just saying just to push it all together so that we can make some change. A little change is better than none at all.
No, I
You
I
know,
agree. A little
and
change is better than none at all. So
We just had to
do
work
the research
to
and
that,
see
yeah.
where these churches,
Yeah.
what they're doing,
True.
who their congregants are. I guess I just like.
All
All
right.
Blame the church. That's fine.
Well, I won't name the church public, but I will do research to look at the
Yeah,
church.
please let us know,
Oh man,
and let us
Good
know
show,
who
though.
their council person is too.
right.
Because to me, they
You said the
they
Central
help-
Ward, right?
They,
Central Ward.
All right,
to
we
me
can
would
find
be-
that out
yeah.
online. You can Google that
Right.
online.
Because those people get voted in
Right.
and paid to look out for that
Yeah.
neighborhood.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So do pastors.
No,
We
they
had a-
don't.
Pastors
no, they
get
don't.
paid.
No, they get wonder.
Pastors
They
get paid.
but that's not the same as a role of a councilman. That's not the same.
It's more.
Okay. All right. Do you get voted in? Like
Some
from other
pastors
people?
do.
Some do from their board. Yes, I know that, but it's. I
Missy,
don't
you
think it's
talking
the
to a
same.
pastor.
Okay. All right. All right. Does the neighborhood vote you in? No, it's like
No,
a
no,
board,
no, no.
right?
But
Right.
listen, but
Right.
still,
Right.
but still.
It's not like you going out getting votes and that kind of thing. It's not the same.
But what I'm saying is the responsibility. Now,
It's
I will
not the
argue.
same.
I will argue that the onus may be more on the minister in that area.
Okay. All right.
That's just, and listen, Talk to any minister. They'll tell you the same. They'll feel responsible for stuff that goes on around their church. Any minister, like I said, worth their salt, will tell you the same thing.
Okay.
Even if it's not, that's how they should feel.
Okay.
All right, what else we?
All right.
Hey,
we done hit
Storm
the
Norm.
we done hit the mark now, man. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Is it? We gotta wrap it up.
We gotta wrap it up, dog.
So when
Okay.
is our next meeting? Today is what? The 9th?
23rd.
The 23rd?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, we don't have our folders. Our next meeting is Thursday, January 23rd at 7 p.m.
All right. Listen, everybody. Thank you so much for those of you who
Shout out
weighed
to
in.
all those watching online.
Yeah, man. And don't be afraid to call. Call in 64623. It's too late now, though. 646-233-1302. Let's talk about it.
And also be sure to stay tuned. 8:30, we got a new show coming on WBKS1. And then the Storm Warning show will be on at 10:30, Norm? Yes. 10:30. So we appreciate y'all. See y'all in 14
Oh, wait.
days.
Any last thoughts?
Oh, you
before
know
we
what?
close out?
Real quick,
Any
when you walk
shout-outs?
outside your front door, showtime in the world is your stage. Just make sure that people are not watching the rehearsal. With that being said, it's the Six-Man Dean Geronimo signing off.
Miss C, what you got?
No, that's it. I'm done.
Okay. Hey, listen. Shout out to Ninth Tabernacle, Fountain Avenue, East New York. They did it, and they did it virtually overnight. They changed that section of that neighborhood by engaging the neighborhood. Big ups to them. Big ups to Evangelist Turner and the congregation. Peace. All right, how we close out of here?